Might feel like the market's starting to cool as we head deeper into fall. However, the numbers tell a very different story. Detached homes in the province are holding steady, averaging around 442,000 this October, roughly about 4% from last year. Homes are still selling in the about 25 days on market, showing that serious buyers are still active and engaged. For downsizers, that's a reassuring sign that demand remains constant. For move-up sellers, it's one of those rare moments where you can sell confidently and still have solid choices for your next home. Let's take a look at how that momentum is playing out across the rest of the city and surrounding regions. Year to date, over 9,200 detached homes have sold for over $4 billion in volume. The average price sits around $453,000, up 7% from 2024. The steady rise of Winnipeg's market continues to outperform other Canadian cities while remaining affordable. For sellers, accurate pricing still wins. Buyers are motivated but selective. Hi, I'm Justin Zinkowski with Royal LePage Prime Real Estate. If thinking about selling can feel overwhelming, knowing where your home stands in today's market is usually the first question that comes up. You'd like to talk through what buyers are paying for right now and what that could mean for your home. Put a link in the description to set up a quick conversation with a simple no pressure call, and it can give you clarity before deciding what your next move is. Our absorption rate sits around 2.62 months of inventory. The absorption rate measures how quickly homes are selling relative to how many homes are on the market. The absorption rate tells us whether we're in a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market. A higher absorption rate means homes are selling quickly and demand is strong. A low rate means inventory is sitting longer, giving buyers more leverage. Right now, rate shows a fairly balanced market. Homes are still moving, but pricing accurately matters more than ever. Across the entire MLS, we saw about 1,344 sales in October, with an average price near $402,000. That's steady activity and another sign that confidence is holding across every price range. Looking at the bigger picture, 13,502 MLS sales so far this year at $402,000, up almost 6% year to date. All MLS meaning condos, vacant land, mobile homes, single family detached, and attached homes. That kind of consistency is exactly what you want heading into a winter. No spikes or slides, just reliable momentum. Attached homes made up about 5% of sales in October with 115 transactions. An average sale price of $380,000. Prices are up about 3.5% year to date, showing these properties remain strong options for both first-time home buyers and downsizers. People who want low maintenance without sacrificing any size or space. Here's how pricing played out. 55% of the homes sold under list, 8% were at list, and then 37% were over list. Year to date balance is near about 47 under and then about 45% over. Buyers are selective and sellers who price accurately still see great results. Let's zoom in on how average detached prices in Winnipeg have changed each October over the last 4 years. In October of 2022, the average detached sale price was about $386,000. In 2023, that price moved up to $413,000. And in 2024, it climbed again to $433,000. Currently, in October 2025, the average detached sale price in Winnipeg is roughly $439,000. So over the last year, prices are up about 1.4%, and compared to 2022, October prices are up nearly 13.5%. That's steady, gradual growth, not a spike or a crash. On the sales side, we've seen a very similar pattern. October sales rose from 494 in 2022 to 532 in 2023, then again up to 609 in October 2024. In October of 2025, we've seen a 25% increase since 2022. 617 sales, which tells us buyers are still active and responding when homes are priced correctly. Winnipeg has shown consistent, reasonable price growth with solid demand. For sellers, it means your value has been built up over time, but buyers are still very price sensitive. For buyers, that's meaning you're entering a market that's stable and predictable, with room to make good decisions instead of rushed ones. If we were to take a look at what's happening just outside of Winnipeg, places like East St. Paul, West St. Paul, St.Andrews, Headingley, Oakbank, Grand Point, Oak Bluff, and Selkirk, these perimeter communities continue to behave very differently from the city. In October of 2022, the average detached home in this region sold for about $478,000. 2023, that number dipped actually $445,000, but in 2024 it surged up to $522,000. For this October, now we've seen another 14% increase. And for October of 2025, the average price climbed again to $596,000 and nearly a 25% jump compared to 2022. For homeowners in this area, that means the value of your property has been building, especially in the last 2 years. And for buyers, it highlights why this region remains so competitive. Families are looking for space, newer homes, and quieter streets. There in the number of sales. This helps explain what drives those price increases. In October of 2022 and 23, the region saw 91 sales each year. In 2024, activity spiked to 126 sales, and this October we saw 119, just slightly below last year, but still well above historical norms. What this tells us is that demand has remained strong over the multi-year period, even with interest rates moving the way they have. When you have combined steady buyer activity with limited supply in many of these communities, especially East St. Paul and Headingley, price growth becomes natural. Median prices in 2025 continued to track in the low to mid 500s across the year. Days on market were sitting around 31 for October, which shows homes are still moving steady at a manageable pace, and the sales to list ratio was about 98.9%, which tells us buyers are still willing to pay close to asking when property is priced correctly. Even thinking about upsizing or downsizing or moving out of the city for more space, this region's long-term price trajectory gives you options. If you're watching in the Gimli, Stonewall area, I have a Interlake market update coming soon. I'll have a full breakdown for all of those areas as well. If you're in St. Andrews, West St. Paul, or Headingley, or any of the surrounding neighborhoods and wondering how these trends applies to your specific street or subdivision, would it be a bad idea to understand what these numbers mean for your home? Across Manitoba, there are about 1,600 active listings. October saw 1,101 new listings come to market during the month. For those, 528 were priced between $300,000 and $500,000. Still the busiest segment of the Manitoba housing market. That mid-range continues to define overall activity levels. It's where the majority of buyers are searching and where well-priced homes are selling the fastest. The most active price range in October was the $300,000 to $400,000 with 253 sales, about 28% of all activity. Next came the $200,000 to $300,000 price range with 122 sales. And then on the high end, there was 23 homes that sold over $1 million, including one at $3.4 million, and that was compared to $16 million this time last year. Proof the market serving every buyer tier. The upper end of the market still remains resilient. What's interesting is the luxury homes are spending roughly the same time on market as the mid-range listings, showing that qualified buyers are still out there For October, we had a three-way tie for the busiest neighborhoods. St. Vital, West Kildonan, and Polo Park, each with 20 sales. Close behind was a four-way tie at 18 sales for Waverly West, River Park South, Devonshire Park, and East Transcona. That balance across different parts of the city shows how broad and steady buyer interest really is. Across the city, average price ranges from the mid-300s to the west, nearly 600,000 in the southwest. It's a wide spectrum, but overall the market remains remarkably steady. Buyers have options and sellers have opportunities as well. Whether you're planning to move soon or just trying to understand where your neighborhood fits into the bigger picture, all of these numbers point out to one thing: accurate pricing and clear presentation still make the biggest difference. If you're trying to get a sense of what your home might actually sell for in today's market, click the link in the description to set up a call about the current market and your current price range. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.